Welcome back.
What's up, Kev?
What's up, everybody? What's up, Jesse?
Hey.
We are, we got a feast in front of us today.
We do. We have a whole
We have a good spread. We haven't done this before, but we're like eating what we just filmed.
The meal we just filmed, yeah. We got shrimp, we got quesadillas, we got avocado toast.
Sweet potato. Pitas. Yeah.
Luby's Buffet doesn't have anything
Oh,
else right
Luby's.
now.
Oh, man, what you know about Luby's Buffet, bro? What you know about that?
I mean, post-church hangout.
That's right. It was. That's why the Righteous Gemstones is so funny, because that's what they basically do.
Because they're there.
Yeah.
They're literally there, yeah. You're like, oh, yep, diner,
Yep.
buffet.
How you doing? You know the drill. What's one thing that made you happy this week?
Well, this food's making me happy right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Oh, man. Yeah. Just getting the family prep for school.
Oh my gosh.
My oldest is going to kindergarten, so.
How long was her list?
Oh, I mean, I think Abby took her shopping the other day for some new school clothes.
Okay.
And came back, and it was the cutest thing ever, because she's like, I'm going to put this in the corner with all my other little school supplies. I got this, and this ready. She's ready.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
adorable. She's
Yeah.
really ready for school. Okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like some like impossible list of like a box of Kleenex, 4 pencils, or ruler.
No. Where she's going, it's like the kindergarten is a completely separate thing from the elementary school.
Yeah.
And it's like they call it an early childhood development center.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a fairly new thing to add on to the school that we go to. So
So it's not necessarily like standardized teaching, much more like practical.
I think so. It seems
Oh.
like it's a little more like interactive, like
Yeah.
let's spend the day kind of doing some practical things as well that little kids like doing, you know.
I want to point out, Jesse was talking smack about one person that we had talked to about their kids going to some like open school. And here's Jesse's kids going to some open school.
Public school. I ain't paying for it. My tax dollars might be, but
Yeah.
to be fair, I was making fun of somebody who was probably spending
Oh,
upwards of what I make in a year on their kid going to school.
Absolutely. It was probably, they're definitely spending 6 figures a year, if not close to it.
I don't love my kids that much.
Yeah. Well, hey, I always say this. You turned out fine. I turned out fine.
Yeah.
Product of public school. So
I turned out fine, and I don't think I ever went to the same school for more than 3 years. Public, private,
yeah,
homeschooled.
yeah.
I did the gamut.
Oh yeah,
so.
you were bouncing around.
Made you happy this week?
Actually, today. So I've been nauseous all week.
Oh.
I know. It's not like I'm pregnant, right? I've been nauseous like all week. I haven't eaten anything. And I couldn't. I haven't been able to keep food down for the past 2 or 3 days. And today was the first day I woke up with an appetite so I can eat again. So
I got it.
yes, that was really nice. And I think it has something to do, you know, I'm probably going to do a post about this. Just, I always like to spread out my mental health posts just because, first off, sometimes people do it. And, you know, it's not a criticism, but I always feel like it has to come from a place of like authenticity.
Yeah.
And when I'm struggling, I don't want to be sitting out there giving people advice. Hey, I'm trying to make it myself.
Yeah.
So let me get myself good. All right, now here's what I did. So part of the nauseousness, you know, the nausea was a medication switch or an increase in dosage, I think, from my doctor that was needed. And so now I think it's kind of like subsided. So I'm good again. And so kind of getting back on my routine. So that's that felt nice.
Was that something that happened like the last time, like when you first started taking the medication? Is it something that your body just, it takes a minute to get used to maybe, or?
You know, I think everyone hits it differently, you know, gets affected differently. I didn't get this the last time, but I think it's just because of the increase in dosage. So she had already warned me about this, and I'm like everybody else. I go to WebMD and Google, and so I'm like, what happens?
Yeah.
And they said it's one of the common side effects.
Okay.
But it's temporary. In fact, they said a lot of people, they said at this dosage, they said report 8 to 10% loss in body fat. I was like, oh, well, I definitely understand that. I haven't eaten anything.
Got us another like Ozempic scenario over
Exactly.
here. Like, multiple benefits.
Hey, let me tell you.
That's good.
Yeah, but I'm feeling much better today and energized, so I think I feel good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wellness in the news. So there are a couple things today that kind of jumped out at me that I think would be cool to discuss.
Okay.
We're going to start out talking about women.
Okay.
There is a new postpartum depression drug that they have approved. You saw that, right?
I saw the headline. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called zuranolone, and it'll be on the market after they do the 90-day review by the FDA. But what's different about this drug is that it can ease depression in about 3 days.
Wow.
Postpartum depression.
Wow.
And they don't have to take it for like months at a time, just like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So they did 2 studies, 2 clinical trials of it, of 350 people. And in one study, 72%, and the other study, 57%, improved the depression scores by 50%.
Whoa.
That's really high.
huge.
Yeah, that's really high. And I think for some of the for 1 or 2 of the trials, they said like 15 to 20% of the women were using their other antidepressants too. So they're thinking that this could also be something that you could stack with what you're currently taking.
Okay.
So to kind of enhance that benefit. But it's only for postpartum depression. They're trying to see if it can be used for other things right now, but they're like, this is designated for postpartum depression only. And I didn't know this. The alternative to this is a drug called brexanolone.
Okay.
This is, first off, it requires a 60-hour infusion, intravenous infusion.
Oh my.
You lose consciousness.
Oh my.
And guess how much it cost? $34,000. And I just thought, man, U.S. healthcare. Women, like, that's the alternative? Yeah, I'm just going to stay depressed. That depresses me too.
Yeah, which depression do you want? The fact that you're never going to financially recover from this, or
the one about your kid that you make it over. And
like, I mean, I remember seeing our bills when I think my daughter was born, like before insurance, and $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So then on top of that, you're also.
Is that how much it costs to have a kid?
Well, with our first, there was an epidural involved, and then a surgeon had to come in as well afterwards. So those were the things that probably, compared to the other two, I'd say it's more like you're looking at like 10 to 15 grand for a kid. Like if you don't have insurance and you're just paying straight out of pocket. So it's a lot of money.
That's if you don't have insurance.
You don't have insurance. That's like the bill. That's the bills that I saw before any adjustments. We paid between $1,000 and $3,000.
It is wild to me.
Yeah,
that's a lot. And so think about that: your wife having postpartum depression and needing $34,000 treatment. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is pretty promising, though.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that it's moving, like pretty quickly.
Also, that works if you're already taking something.
Yeah.
For depression, because then you don't have to go off of whatever you're taking
Correct.
and run the risk of really struggling because there's an imbalance all of a sudden. You're not used to it. Like, can stack it. That's beautiful.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So I thought this was pretty promising for a lot of families, for a lot of people. I think, you know, I listened to a podcast about this in menopause, and it's astounding that this is one of the few areas that's really kind of like studied in like medical school. They don't really prep you a lot for these things. And it's just, it's just kind of wild is the fact that, I mean, over half the population are women, and this is a really big thing. And menopause and postpartum depression is not really talked about in like medical school. So I'm glad to see that this is, you know, making some headway and some traction, because I think the promise of this too is that it can release or lessen the the stigma around depression. Yeah. Just because it's something that that's quick, and also it underscores the fact that it's biological for women. Yeah. In this sense,
it's a normal thing that happens because their bodies just went through something traumatic.
Yeah, like, really traumatic.
Regardless of how you look at it. Yeah. I had actually read a headline not that long ago talking about the statistics of like the divorce rates when women go through menopause. and how they're a lot higher during that time period, because you have, not only do you have menopause going on, but you'll have the husband who's probably going through some sort of mental health, midlife crisis thing too. So it just makes sense. Both people are struggling a little bit more than normal, butting heads, and
That's
people
funny.
tend to call it quits more often in that time period.
You know what? Screw it.
Yeah. I'm starting my second act without you.
Only to find out that second act.
Yep.
Oh, you definitely didn't want to do that. Start over again. Oh,
Sounds terrifying.
What do
to
you
go into
regret?
the dating world.
oh man, don't do it. Okay, there's another one that I thought would be really interesting to discuss because it involves social determinants of health, which we've kind of talked about a lot, like recently, and it's with the Telehealth Expansion Act.
Oh, okay.
And so, what this is, y'all, this is a bipartisan bill, which is great that it's bipartisan, that allows people with high deductible plans and with health savings accounts to basically access telemedicine and telehealth stuff.
Beautiful.
Basically, remote care without having to meet the minimal deductible.
Beautiful.
And when you think about the implications of this, like telehealth just exploded during COVID because you couldn't really go in, right? And of course, people had these like super high, like deductibles.
Yeah.
And I mean, myself included, mine was like $6,000.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it is $6,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's kind of like having uninsurance. But if you think about somebody who is, has an income deficit, they're lower income or whatnot.
Yep.
Like it's you're actually choosing, all right, should I eat or can I go and get some care?
Yeah.
And it's what we had kind of like discovered too when we were looking at the SNAP bill, the SNAP legislation, in that it kind of like one of the things that kind of keeps people in this poverty cycle is that they're not able to lift themselves out of it, not only because of the income, but also health. So they have these major health disparities because they aren't able to access it.
Yep.
And so removing that barrier, removing the whole deductible thing, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's huge.
Yeah.
We've got friends that deal with this on a constant basis because they have a daughter who's special needs, so all her medication is absurdly expensive, but it's covered by their Medicare plan.
Okay.
But the husband cannot get a new job. Like if he gets a job that pays him more than what he's currently making, they'll have to start paying for that medicine.
Isn't that crazy?
So they're stuck.
Yeah.
Like he's stuck in one position until they figure out what the best next steps are to do, or he gets a job that has a good enough healthcare plan that would help cover the stuff. But because she's special needs and it's so peculiar, most of the insurances you go to, they're not going to run the risk of covering it. So,
well, I thought that was the whole purpose of the of the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah,
was like taking that stipulation out,
right?
Like, yeah, because life happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
tons of people that go through that on a daily basis. Decision: do I make an attempt to make more money and get kicked off my benefit plan,
right,
or do I stay where I'm at?
Yeah.
So,
and just for those who are new to this concept, let me tell you just what it is. It's basically being able to get remote care services via the internet. Which, when you think about it, you having to hop into your car and drive to your doctor's office, whatnot. If you have a car, first off, it's going to take you just that amount of time to go and get there. If you don't have a car, you're lower income, you're taking the bus and whatnot, then man, that can take hours, and that means you really have to take off like half a day of work.
Yeah, and I wonder,
not just go on your lunch break.
It's a little random, but I wonder if there's like benefits of that telehealth stuff too. Like if you are working until 5, maybe your local doctor, they're closing up shop by the time you're home, so you wouldn't even be able to get the appointment.
Right.
But you could go to a different coast doctor, talk to them. True. They're still open, and would give you more options too.
That's true.
To actually get an appointment. That's based off your schedule,
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what this bill is like designed to do, and they also allow for behavioral and mental health services, which is something that they didn't allow for before. So I mean, you can get the entire gamut. You can get the physical health, the mental health looked at, and I was like, man, I love reading stuff like this because this is the way that government should be working. Yeah. It's bipartisan. Everyone understands. Like we've got to take care of each other. we're all we
We're all in this
have.
together.
We are all
Can't
we
lose
have.
sight of that.
Yeah. So I thought this was a really great step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So, and it touches on the social determinants of health, and whereby what that means is like based off your circumstances, it can determine the quality of healthcare that you have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this right here kind of removes one of the most significant barriers, income and transportation.
So on the topic of healthcare, I found out something that I thought was very interesting this week.
What?
I'm getting the old snip next week.
Okay.
Old vasectomy action, right?
Oh God.
And so 2 weeks ago, we called our insurance plan. Being self-employed, I decided to go for one of these faith-based Christian care ministry type things.
I remember you telling me.
And lo and behold, they don't support any type of birth control, male or female.
Oh,
are not
really?
covered. Yeah, because of them being so pro-life.
I'm sorry. Stop laughing, Jesse. You're not supposed to be laughing like this.
And so Abby literally, she called first just to test the waters and see what it's
Is there
going
a
to be
typo?
like. And the guy on the phone with her, the representative, was like, I know, I don't even think this is right. Like the representative.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I've had a vasectomy and I had to figure out what exactly I wanted to do to get it because they didn't cover it. And so I was like,
That's really interesting.
man, this is kind of like, there's been a couple things, but this is like the strike 2.5, strike 3 for us. Like,
Okay, yes. But, I mean, in fairness, though, maybe you could have seen this one coming with the fact that it was
for
like
sure.
like an Uber, like Christian, because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking like really far right type of, like, that's where they're like, but yeah, so I could see that, but that's,
Yeah.
man, so what are you going to do? Have you,
I'll have to pay for this.
oh,
Ish. Yeah.
is
not
it like, is it
$900.
really expensive? It's not, how much?
$900.
You can't find another insurance company.
No, right?
You can't find something else to make
Go
it
get a
work.
back alley vasectomy.
Hey, OnlyFans is free. You
Yeah.
better get on there and start them subscriptions.
Bounce.
Get them subscribers up, Jesse.
Started GoFundMe.
Don't blame them, y'all. Don't judge. We paying bills over here. We paying bills.
That's right. That's right. I'll upload some feet pics.
I'm gonna make breakfast with my toes.
I got some really crooked toes. I'm sure there's someone out there that's into that.
Someone likes it. Oh gosh. All right. Good stuff. All right. And on that topic of healthcare and medicine, I thought this one it kind of made me chuckle, but also like, dang, COVID vaccine stocks have just like crashed.
Yeah.
I mean, like plummeted.
Yeah.
So Moderna and biotech were like the top two, I think, when we were going through the COVID thing, and Pfizer, but Moderna and biotech, they're at their lowest stocks in like years now. I think Moderna has lost about 6%, stocks fell, and biotech has lost about 8%. And biotech sales have declined 95% a year over year.
Yeah.
And this year alone, they're going to be getting like $5.5 billion, which, oh my God, that's such a small amount of money. But it's a 70% decline, which lets you know just how much money they were making.
Raking it in.
They were raking it in off of the markup. Because I remember when those reports were coming out and just like how much they were marking it up to different countries.
Yeah.
Even to the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yo, this is...
A wild concept.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, don't we all kind of need this right now?
Yeah.
This pandemic. But they're both now, Moderna and Pfizer, are among the worst performing stocks on the S&P. Let me tell you how much biotech is down. Well, first off, the market cap lost over the last like 2 years. It's $340 billion. It's the market cap loss these past 2 years.
Ooh.
Biotech is down $85 billion of that market cap, and Moderna is down $157 billion. I was like, dang, y'all biggest losers than Elon Musk. It's like- so there's a declining demand for the vaccine, of course, and analysts are saying that basically they have to remove this COVID vaccine monkey off their back in order to really recover. So basically, they got to get away from all these COVID guidance protocol things in order to really get back to business. So I was just thinking, I was like, man, what started out was something that was so profitable. I bet they were just grinning from ear to ear, just they didn't have pockets for all the money.
Yeah.
To now 70% decline.
Yeah. What would you like it? I don't know. What would you expect? Like for it to keep, I don't think you'd ever expect it to keep going at the same rate sales wise, obviously. Like the vaccine's working and doing its job, like you're kind of running yourself out of business in a sense. You know? So
well, I mean, I want to know what they were doing before, because I was like, why couldn't you just go back to that? I mean, yes, you are going to decline in sales and whatnot, but if it's the same as before, this sounds like it's getting worse than what it was pre-pandemic. So
like if they just returned to pre-COVID vaccine, then it's kind of like investors are going to be happy for the most part.
But I think they're on the trajectory to go lower, which is why analysts are like, you got to get rid of all this COVID vaccine guidance stuff.
You see the money in your eyes too. It's like, ooh, we made that much money. Like, how can we keep this going? Like, how can we keep up this amount of money? What do we need to get into next? You know, like
conspirituality over here.
No, well,
Jesse?
not more COVID. Just what other medication can we get into?
Well,
you know, like how can we create that same amount of market value with our brand?
Hysteria and paranoia. Like that's the only thing that's going to help you out is paranoia.
Yeah.
And I think people are done with that right now. They're over COVID.
Yeah.
Even though it's not over us.
Yeah.
But this is an incredible loss for these two. But it also just reminded me of just the sentiment around COVID and vaccinations and whatnot. It's just, we started out on this like, all right, we got to get this thing. And it just became so polarizing so fast.
Yeah.
All at once.
Messaging was all over the place. It was wild.
Gosh. Okay. Last two. So it has been a hot summer, a hot boy and hot girl summer, hot everybody's summer.
Say it.
And Time Magazine came out with this brilliant article. I think y'all should go and read it if you subscribe to Times. But it's how heat is affecting the economy and the worker health. And so they're already saying how dozens have died, from heat exposure. Many of those deaths this year have been in Texas. They were talking about the 66-year-old postal worker who was here in Dallas, doing the mail, and he just fell dead. He collapsed. They said the causes they're still trying to find out. However, the heat index was 115 that day. So I'm pretty sure that was a contributing factor. There's this organization that is out of DC. It's called Public Citizen, and they're basically a workers advocacy group. And so they track a lot of these things that are happening, with workers. And first off, I didn't know that there's no protocol or protection for agricultural workers, which is 2.5 million workers. But that also there's no protection for construction workers, for roofers, for what did it say? Delivery drivers, garbage collectors, etc. Anybody that's actually working outside, there are no protocols for. And they said between 600 and 2,000 people die each year from that, from heat, which would actually makes heat the top 3 causes of death in the workplace.
Wow.
Did not know that.
Top 3, huh?
Well, top 3 because of that. And when they said it has a big impact too. So 2,000 die each year. This results in a loss of productivity of about $10 billion.
Wow.
Loss of productivity. It's man, they were making some stuff, but if you think about it, those are a lot of the positions that we depend on for services. So it does make
even
sense.
People that are AC's going out, the people that have to fix them, they're in those attics that are 150 degrees probably. And of course, people are asking why and how. I mean, of course,
climate change came up, and some people are saying that this would not be possible without us burning like fossil fuels. I don't know enough information about that. I'm just gonna keep it at what the article says.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know that in 2021, Biden asked OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which I did not know it stands for, OSHA, to actually draft a protocol that would basically protect workers from heat exhaustion and other things like that.
Yeah.
And it would just mandate that businesses have to protect the outdoor workers.
Okay.
As they would from any other hazard. So from falling debris, if there's a toxic chemicals in the air, just things that you would normally have to do.
Yeah.
It's been running really slow. It's been going like really slow to try to get this passed, and they're concerned that like if a presidency is shifted, that it's probably not going to pass. And there's been opposition on both sides of the aisle, but I think mainly on like one side, they're saying that it presents an unfair burden on companies to guard for that. And it made me kind of think, what is our responsibility? Because you're a business owner, what is your responsibility if you're using people to achieve your dreams, to reach your financial goal? Do you have a duty to protect them? Do you feel like you owe them something? Except, like beyond a paycheck?
Yeah, well, I've never really thought about that. Like, outside of making sure they're generally happy with their workplace.
Yeah.
I think that's about the extent that it goes. I don't ever think like, well.
Okay, well, let's say that we had to go, you had to go shoot at the Arboretum.
Yeah.
Like at 3 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right in the heat of day when it's like 106 temperature, but on the field, out there.
I don't know, but I found these results on search.
Google, stop.
I'm not a part of this conversation.
No, I was trying to be in the podcast. All right, but you're out there, 110 index.
Yeah.
You have a duty to,
help,
to
like,
protect. To say like, hey, we need to. Or is it unfair to put that burden on you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's unfair to put that burden on me. Like, I do have a gig coming up at the end of August, and it's oil and gas related. And so it's literally us spending time outside. Like, there's no building structures where we're going.
Is it Midland?
One of the days is in Midland, but that's a different thing from this. That's like actually inside in an air-conditioned warehouse.
Okay.
This is that I'm talking about. It's like new, it's CO. It has to do with CO2 and then pumping it in the ground and turn into it's very sciencey, and it's very oil and gas related.
Yeah.
But so we'll be documenting this structure's being built.
Yeah.
And we're just out there in the dead of heat. And so I was looking up online for me and my crew. I was like, okay, I need to get like one of those tents. Like you do like a concession stand or whatever, going to a sporting event, I need to get one of those tents. Like I saw these little these buckets that you can fill up with ice and put a fan on top so you can have like cool air that's blowing.
Yep.
And I was like, we're going to need that. Like,
so you already got that stuff for the crew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel obligated to do it out of, just wanting to make sure that no one does get a heat stroke.
Right.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with our government enforcing that more.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the people that I'm hiring that are contracted.
Yeah.
Because technically those are the ones that get abused the most, because my only obligation is to pay you.
Yeah.
Not health insurance, not anything else, not workers' comp. That's all on you.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit more of like, you've got to be willing to do the extra and not be an ass, essentially,
Yeah.
So government
then
regulation,
I
I think, is good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I think maybe the hesitation that people are having too is that, we are a very sue-happy country because of all of these rights, and so people just have the right to go and do that. And I get it, but I think this is also a consequence that we are reluctant to actually do things that would maybe put us into, that would safeguard us out of fear that people could abuse it.
Yep. Yeah.
So I see that. I can see like both sides. I definitely think it's needed though. You gotta, it's not the same thing that you're dealing with, but I feel like I think about that when we travel and stuff. I try to be like mindful of the time and like mindful of like, hey, you need your break. Like, don't stop asking him things. He's away. Don't look for him. Jesse's fine. I will. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, if you need something, come to me and whatnot. So, I mean, I feel that way. I've always kind of felt like the need to make sure that different boundaries are not crossed.
Right.
So, but I got to think about that in terms of like, first off, the heat thing is not a problem for me. I'll be oh no, we're not shooting this one. We gotta wait till September. My God, you can't tell this story in September.
Yep.
Because it's gonna be a little cooler. Hey, you know, I give you a price break.
I'll see you at 7 a.m. and we'll film then. How about that?
Case said no. I'm all for that. Let's start at 6.
Knock it out.
Yeah. In fact, the best lighting is then too.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna look better, feel better, less sweat, much better.
Yeah. So there are ways to work around that.
Yeah.
But I thought this was pretty interesting. But if you have the times, I encourage you to go back and read it because it gets into heat exhaustion and what happens to the body. All right, the last thing. I've been trying to convince Jesse for the past 2 years or so to get something, a very special something.
A very special something, huh?
A dog.
A dog.
For the kids. It's just...
He really encourages it.
Yeah. There was an article in PR came out that said petting other people's dogs can briefly boost your health. Okay. And also that actually just a small interaction with dogs, in fact, when they bring the dogs to classroom for kids, that there is there's a boost in mood. And that, let me see what they say. They said it's a feel good, you know, and so there is oxytocin release, and oxytocin is that feel good hormone, but it's released in both the dog and also the human. So it can be really good for your mood and stuff. And in fact, dog ownership is associated with a 33% lower risk of death. Just saying, for heart stroke survivor, for heart attack survivors living alone, and 27% reduced risk for stroke survivors. Yeah. So that's a lot to say. I mean, that's pretty good, right?
That's pretty good, yeah.
And I think they're saying that too, just because if you are a dog owner, you tend to be a lot more active, physically active, because you're walking your dog.
Right.
But they did a trial in the UK with kids from 8 to 9, and the short exchanges in the classroom led to less stress and improved functioning. So just think about this as you're denying your kids the right to feel the joy of having a dog, that you could be making them a lot more stress and not as functional.
I see a business opportunity here.
What's that? What's the business opportunity?
Like a rent-a-dog service.
Oh,
hey, come over, you pet the dog, have a good time, and then you don't have to actually take care of it.
They actually have those.
Yeah. See, there we go. There we go.
You can rent. You can actually do that. You can have. They'll come through and you can pet the dogs.
I'm always down to be a dog uncle. Always down. A dog can come visit. If you're ever on a trip, you want to take your dog to boarding school, bring him over to my house. Got a big yard, you can run around, and might come back a little terrorized after being chased by the kids all weekend.
Oh my God, exhausted.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, there are a lot of pluses to this. But I think the heart health one,
it's a good one,
and the cognitive skills. So just think about that. It's not just
think about that. I get a heart attack. Oh, if only I get a dog.
You jerk.
Kevin was right.
I tried, y'all. I'm sorry.
I did. My joke is that Kevin's gonna show up with a dog at my house one day, and I'll just be stuck with it. But then I'll send him a picture and post a story about that dog in a box on the side of the road with the sign that says "Free dog."
Free.
$3.99. I will pay you $20 to take this dog off my hands.
I'm gonna go behind your back. I'm gonna get the kids in love with this dog.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
There's some writing on the wall in this scenario, because my mom would just show up with animals.
Oh, she does?
That's just what she would do.
Okay.
And then my dad would become, best friends with the animal. Even though he was like, no, we don't need one, blah, 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 blah. So
Oh, you're just like your dad did.
Once these kids get a little bit older, I'm sure Abby's gonna show up with Pearl and a puppy and just be like, "Oh, look, like, can we keep them?" I'll be like,
Yeah.
I'll fold.
Okay, but how old? Much older. I mean, the kids are
Oh, I think it's probably just like once the baby's
can.
a little more self-sustaining in a sense,
Okay.
you know.
All right. So this year, then, there you go.
We'll give it 5.
He was talking on the phone to you in FaceTime. We were in Benton. He just grabbed the phone, so he's he's
did.
pretty self-sufficient.
There you go. It's coming.
It's coming. I tried.
Do you feel there's not enough time in your schedule to meal prep? Then I got you, fam. Today's episode is brought to you by the Fit Cook Meals, delicious flavor-packed meals fit for a busy lifestyle. When I started sharing recipes and health tips over 10 years ago, I always wanted to launch a prepared meal service for those needing some extra help keeping in line with wellness goals. So I partnered with registered dietitians and nutrition experts around the country to curate a menu of nutritionally dense meals that fit any style of eating, including low-carb, gluten-free, plant-based, and even Mediterranean. All meals are chef prepared, not in some huge factory, and they're made in restaurants and commissaries and ghost kitchens in your area, so you get the freshest meal experience as possible. Meals are lower sodium, so you can season to taste, and most importantly, to both you and me, they are flavor packed. Head over to meals.fitmencook.com to get started with your first set of meals. You receive a discount when you sign up for a weekly subscription. Again, that is meals.fitmencook.com. Now, back to the table.
All right. So what's on your mind, Jesse? I'm gonna kick it to you.
Okay.
To go first.
What's on my mind?
Yeah. Or what's something that you've been thinking about this week?
I don't know, just thinking about life, not to be too head in the clouds, but we were watching that show, Parenthood. We just finished it. Have you ever seen that show?
It's an older show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Dak Shepard's in it. And
Oh, not that one. I thought you meant the original one.
What's the original one?
There's like original Parenthood. Yeah. I mean, it was out in the early 90s.
Oh, okay. No, this is probably like 2006.
I know which
and
one you're
on.
talking about.
Yeah. But man, that show, like, have you ever watched a show and like it really painted out your life in a sense?
Oh,
where you're
yeah.
like, these writers know what they're doing, because like I've lived out multiple of these scenarios, and
Yeah.
it's just it was a good show, but it was a little creepy because it was like all the way down to even like some health stuff that's going on, like with my dad, and the dad in the show had the same thing going on, and they kind of had the same personality. I was like, yeah, we're really falling into a stereotype here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I just thinking about the time we spend with our loved ones and stuff like that, and with my parents getting older, like we moved closer to them and able to spend more time with them now and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And so it's weird to think about, like, in the next 10 years, my parents going from being in their 70s, or my dad's 70 and my mom's in her late 60s, and then in the next 10 years they're going to be like 80, and it's like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Life's changing, man. Like,
It's changing so
it changes fast. So yeah, I think that's just been on my mind. Just
Okay.
life and how it moves fast, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Yeah, I think that I can relate to that too. Just the speed at which things are moving. Because I just was talking to somebody, I think, was it my attorney or somebody, and they said the date, and I said, we're halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Like over halfway through the year. I can't believe it. Like
Yeah.
it's just right around the corner, like 2024.
Yep.
And so just to think, I mean, there's so much stuff that kind of goes on. It doesn't feel like it.
Seemed like it was just yesterday that Biden was elected, and like,
Yeah, and they're talking about another election right now.
Yeah.
Just all these things. And so I do think that life is precious. I remember, what is that show? It was a movie with Chris Rock. I think I hate my wife. I think I love my wife, or something like that. You know what I'm talking about, because
Yes.
Kerry Washington was in it.
Yeah.
But there was a quote that he said. He said, like, people always say that life is short. Life is long. You gotta, and so I've chewed on that for years, because I do think in some ways that like life is short, but it's pretty long. And I think that spending more time in the moment and being a lot more aware, you're able to appreciate the length that you have, rather than just like looking up and be like, oh snap, it's already this time. So I can definitely like relate to that, feeling that way.
Yeah.
Getting so caught up in a routine and getting so caught up in just business.
Oh yeah.
And trying to make things work, like, oh, I got to get this done and this done, that there's a lot of doing and there's not a lot of living the way that you would want to.
Yeah, I just remember growing up thinking like to live a more stress-free life, you know.
Yeah. Oh.
You had to be like go with the flow, like, you know,
Yeah.
just take things as they come, it'll be fine, you know. But it's just like the value of a good routine
Yeah.
is what actually I think, and putting
Yeah.
like boundaries in place with stuff too. It's like, okay, yeah, I know I have all this stuff I need to get done, but like I need to make sure from X time to X time is my focus time for that.
Yeah.
And then blocking out this is the time for my family. And then it's like this is the time for extra stuff if I need it during a season, you know, like, and the more organized and stuff you can be, the more you can be in the moment.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
be present where you need to be, right?
Yeah.
Like fully invested in the work, fully invested in family, friends, relationships, all that kind of stuff. So
I think setting the boundaries and also the expectations is great. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
Enforcing them is the hard
Yep.
part. You're like, oh, I got to step away from this. You got to step away. You got to stop. You got to.
Oh yeah. That's when the grace for yourself comes in too,
like, oh.
to say, okay, like, can try again.
Yeah.
Like we'll
We'll
figure
just
this
try
out
again
one
tomorrow.
step at a time.
Yeah. We'll try again tomorrow. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay, Greg.
Yeah. But I think Abby and I, we made an attempt to like go to bed earlier, like not be up as late and kind of read before we go to bed and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and so we did that. And then boy, it's just like the weekend hits and we're gone later in the day. So then we're sitting down chilling and it's like, oh, let's just binge 5 or 6 episodes, you know? And then it's like, oh, well, it's midnight again.
Dang it.
I think our bodies are also getting adjusted to like regular gym activity during the week too. So if we do get less sleep, we like really feel it because our bodies are kind of like,
Yeah, you're recovering.
oh
You're
yeah,
resting,
I
you're
need
sore.
that rest. Like this
Yeah.
is rough right now.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. You do find yourself sleeping and just like lounging a little bit more, but I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, you need
your
it.
body like needs rest.
Yeah.
And I mean, you constantly be on. Both of y'all are always on your feet,
Yep.
so
Yep.
it makes sense.
Yeah. Get as much sleep as you can because we know it's going to get interrupted throughout the night anyways.
Like I always think of the horror movies with the kid standing over you like this, and like go back to sleep.
That has happened plenty of times where I've woken up and there's a kid staring at me in the face and I'm like, oh God, where'd you come from? Get back to bed.
And don't stand like that.
Staring at me.
Oh, good stuff, man. I actually, I don't really have I don't really have something like this week, but I do want to echo something that you said just about like priorities maybe in life kind of like changing or so. Because I used to think the same thing about just what I needed in life. And it's just been in the past couple of months where I'm just realizing like what's important to me and what's not.
Yeah.
And a lot of the work that I've just been doing with like advocacy and stuff has just been, gosh, I had turned that part off because some stuff happened when I was really when I was volunteering and doing it. And I was just like, you know what, screw it. And I turned that part off, and I had been doing that like my entire life. I had been like volunteering and I still kind of kept it up, but I just did it like on the side, like small things. But now just diving head first all over again, I was like, oh man, I forgot how much I love this.
Yeah.
In fact, my first tattoo, I put John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down his life for his friend. And it always spoke to me as just being a servant to people.
Yeah.
That like, it's through the showing of love.
Yeah.
And serving people that that true like human connection is made, that you're able to really connect with people, that you're able to not change people's minds, but just to open up their eyes to something else, you know? So yeah, I'm definitely in that space as well right now.
Yeah. That's I feel like anytime you help other people, that's when you see the most strides in yourself as well. Like anytime you really focus on helping somebody else and what they're going through, then it's kind of like, okay, I need some of this advice too, like I need to hear this. And you learn
Absolutely.
a lot.
One thing, I mean, it's not to discount what I just said, but my therapist made an observation, and she said like sometimes we do things like altruism and serving people like that because we're trying to save ourselves. And so, and I've always told people, I was just like, you know what, if you're ever feeling lost out there in the world, just go and just volunteer.
Yeah.
Go and get some perspective. And I think that when she said that, a light bulb like went off in my head, like, oh my God, that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
In a sense that like you're trying to save yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a powerful observation that like serving other people can save you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
beautiful.
Yeah. And she was right. She was definitely right about what I was going through. I was like, oh man, I definitely am.
Yeah.
Okay, but I do have one thing that I would say to people.
Yeah.
So I did what you just talked about, was like binging on accident. I was like, oh man, Kevin's supposed to get out. I sat down on, what is it, Saturday, I think. And I was like, let me put on this, Apple TV. I'm paying for this stuff. I need to find out. I need to
see what's on here.
Yeah, So I go through these little things so I can just make sure I'm getting my money's worth. So I see Tom Holland's, or Tim Holland's, the Spider-Man guy.
Oh yeah.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, right?
And he's in this movie called The Crowded Room.
Okay.
I mean, the series.
Okay.
You got to watch it.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, Kevin, just one more episode. All right, just one more. I was like, Kevin, you started at like 11. It's dark outside.
Happened.
It was just really good. It was a really good binge.
Okay.
I also finished up Hijack, which is another one off of Apple TV. Hijack is with Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is dope. I hope he is a new Bond. Which maybe that was a little thing to maybe like tease that maybe he could be or so. But yeah, that's pretty dope. It's a little bit more kind of like, if I could put him in the bucket, that's more like TNT type of show.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Lifetime
TNT knows drama.
But maybe a stepped up version of a Lifetime movie series. But it was still really good because Idris Elba is just a phenomenal actor.
What's the Tom Holland show about?
The Crowded Room? I
Yeah.
can't tell you.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
telling you actually gives away a lot
Okay.
of the things. But I guess the premise is there's this kid who has been arrested, this guy who's been arrested for shooting this man in the middle of, it was right outside of the Rockefeller Plaza
Okay.
in New York.
Yeah.
And he hit several people when he was doing it. It's based off a true story. And you just have to watch it.
Okay.
You just have to watch it because the
good
way
timing.
that
We
they
need something to watch.
Oh yeah. Because the way that they filmed it, first off, was brilliant. I love the way that they filmed it. The look and feel of it, but also the way that they brought it to life.
Okay.
A really difficult concept to understand.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, they're so good.
Okay.
They're so darn
That's
good.
why I got you hooked in there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is brilliant, man. I want to be that creative of how you just did that.
It's good storytelling right there.
Yeah, it's a really good storytelling.
Awesome.
All right, last but not least, how are you doing, man?
I'm good.
Good?
Yeah. Doing good overall.
Good.
Life's busy. Life's changing all the time, it feels like. But at the end, I really can't complain. I feel thankful to be here and thankful for what I got going on right now. Yeah.
I have to say the same.
Yeah.
I'm grateful, practicing gratitude daily, and getting back into devotional.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling better. I think I went through this period where I'm just like, I just need to, I don't know. I've grown up Christian my entire life, right? And sometimes when just life happens to you,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I lost my faith, but I question a lot of things. And I still have questions to this day.
Yeah.
But I know that doing some things actually always kind of gave me clarity.
Yeah.
And so I feel like just getting slowly back into that
Yeah.
has been a great start to the day. It's been a great into the day, reading and journaling.
Yeah.
Again, so I encourage anyone who's out there who just needs that. It's very therapeutic. It's not just for women. Everybody can benefit from it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, because of that, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm going to say today. And I try to not put things this week. It's been great.
Yeah.
Today's been really great.
Yeah.
And to celebrate that like every single day. And I think I've been happier because of that.
Yeah, a day at a time. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting you bring up the like the devotional stuff because that was something that Abby and I had also talked about recently, where we were just kind of like, where do we stand
Yeah.
with this stuff? Like, we know we've had our faith that we grew up with, and then obviously y'all have heard my podcast with our
Yeah.
story and stuff like that. So there's been a wide wide gamut of stuff. And we just kind of came to the conclusion that, like, not that everything that's happened in the faith world is like pointless up until this point, but I feel like there's a day coming for us where we won't be affected by some of the really bad stuff, where it can be far enough back because of the change and the good stuff that's happened, you know?
That's good.
And so I guess it's just like a rebuilding of faith, I would say.
Yeah.
Because the stuff we talked about was like, well, our kids are getting older. How do we want to raise them? Do we want to raise them in a church setting? Do we want to talk to them about, like, should we be praying with them more? Like, all those kind of, like, what do we want to do with this? Like, let's actually put it down on paper what we think it should look like and do that. Yeah. And it's been good. It's just, I feel like a baby again. Like,
no, but that's great.
Like, just figuring out, and it's just kind of like, I think at the end of the day, I just don't want to ever present present Christianity and faith to my family because I feel like I'm just supposed to. It's the thing I'm supposed to do. I'd much rather be open and honest with my kids as I'm growing up and talk to them about the questions that I've had at times to see what their questions are about, you know? And I think when you have kids, you also just kind of like get a new perspective on how God feels towards us a little bit. Yeah. And so lots of those deep thoughts. But
the unconditional love, even though they're being bratty. Exactly. It's like, this is the God still loves me. Yeah. No, man, but that's brilliant. I applaud y'all for going and doing that, because I think about that too. Like, how do you raise a kid? I mean, I know the Bible says, admonish them in the Lord, for this is right. You know, like train a child up. Yeah. At the same time, I feel like faith is something that it really has to be revealed. Yeah. And like to what we were talking about earlier with serving people and stuff like that, I feel like as long as that kind of stays the end goal of why we have faith and why we follow someone like Jesus and what he wrote about is to do just that, is to lay your life down for your brother, right? And so as long as I think that's kind of there and present, like, won't get caught up into the weird religiosity of church. That is well said, bro. Well said. So we're out of orange juice, but we're still gonna cheers anyway. That's right. Cheers, bro. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to At the Table. Remember, you can catch up and watch full episodes on YouTube on the Fit Men Cook channel. And if you enjoy the podcast, please consider giving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on. In the meantime, be kind to yourself, to each other, and break bread. See you next week.